You're listening to the Entrepreneur Ignited podcast, where we aim to simplify online business so you can make more money. Now, here's your host, Gehl.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Ignited podcast. This is your host, Gehl, and today's guest is someone that has an absolute massive wealth of knowledge on media buying online. And it's an interview I've been looking forward to because this is an area I see most people, to be honest, screw it up horribly and lose out on a lot of money, but also on a lot of lost opportunity. And the fact is if you want to grow a business reliably, scale it up reliably, you need to know how to buy media. And so today I get to pick the brain of Mike Gehl, who's a media buyer extraordinaire, spending, I believe, over $1 million a month in media. He's also the founder of a very massive Facebook group called the Internet Marketing Super Friends. And even if the name is a little corny, I think there's a story behind that, and maybe he'll tell that. So once again, Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate the invitation and for you letting me be here. Just for clarification, we're actually down to about $500,000 a month in media spend because we've been eliminating all of our clients. So.
Okay, well,
I want to make sure. One thing you'll get from me always is like a little bit too much truth.
Well, dude, a $500,000 solid. So I think we can still go forward with the interview.
Cool. All right.
Now, before we get into the sort of the how-to, you've been online, God, I think as long as I have, and give us the story. Before we get into this media buying stuff, how did you get online and eventually become this authority on buying media and advertising?
I've been on, I think a little bit less than, I've been on about 16 years now. I was on unemployment, living in a barn in the mountains, and my unemployment was about to run out, and I thought, man, I better get a job. So I looked in the paper and I saw this ad for a receptionist for what's called an internet company. Now, mind you, this is back in 1999. So back then I'm like, ooh, internet company. This is going to be like, I'm going to work on a dating service or something. I looked up the company and it come to find out these guys are like super connected. And I thought, man, I got to go work for this company. So I applied. I got an interview. Working for a company called AdNet International that had just moved to Chico, where I was living at the time. Mm-hmm. And I went in and started as their receptionist for $6 an hour. And I said, look, I'll be a receptionist, but just within a year, I'm going to be running this company. They kind of chuckled and laughed and said, we like your balls, kid. You're hired. So, within a year, I was vice president. Within 2 years, I had kind of outgrown my mentors and had started becoming a mercenary for hire for conversion and traffic tactics. And I've been doing that for over about 14 years now.
Well, and I remember the name AdNet. From back in the day. And I don't know whatever happened to it, but that name rings a bell. So, okay, so you left AdNet and so people started hiring you to buy media for them and
right.
Conversion specialist and now you run your own agency?
Yeah, I've been running my agency for a number of years now, probably close to 10 years or so. What I found out was that I was originally hired by these people to increase the conversion of their websites. Mm-hmm. And then once I increased their conversion, they didn't really know how to buy traffic. And when I tried to explain it to them, their heads just kind of spun around. So they're like, why don't you just buy it for me? I said, sure, I'll start an agency. So we just started buying. Yeah, ta-da. So we just started buying traffic for them. And lo and behold, we were really good at that too. So we're like, okay, man, this is working out all over the place. So we've been buying traffic right away. It actually really started out with a guy named Carlos Garcia, who was the first person to hire me after I had left AdNet back in 2000, I think, or 2001.
Yep.
And he hired me to help him increase the conversion on one of his websites. It worked out so well that his business exploded into the multi-millions of dollars per month. And then that's when I started looking, maybe I should be buying traffic from more people like this. And then literally it's just gone from person to person to person, and kind of like this, underground handshake thing. We're like, oh, you need somebody, you got to go talk to Mike. And then before you know it, there's another person at the door, and another person at the door, and they just seem to come at the right time all the time.
Wow. Now, it's interesting. You keep saying, we're talking about media buying, but you keep saying conversion as well. So right. Now, those two go hand in hand, obviously. So when you're working with a client and they say, hey, I want to buy media, if you see a conversion, like if you see their page or you see their offer and you know it's not going to work, what's your message to them? How do you break that to them?
The direct answer is very frankly, the only way to be in this life is 100% curt, and especially in business, to be completely candid with your clients and your customers and your friends. Say, look, that page sucks. Here's the 6 things that need to change on it and why they need to change. You probably experienced this, you probably experienced that, and here's where you're most likely having problems based on my level of experience. And it's a very difficult conversation for most people to voice, but here's what ends up happening each and every single time. The client says, shit, I knew that. I was telling you guys. And I become the savior because I'm the only one who's got the balls to say, this is stupid. What are you doing? And then eventually what happens is they pay me a boatload of money to go in and do that across the board and be like, look, this page sucks, this page sucks, this page sucks. And who told you to do that? And like, oh, I heard it on a webinar one time with this one guy who swore we were going to make $1 million. I'm like, well, stop, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
And I respect that, Mike, because I've worked with media buyers and I've hired media buyers in the past. And, in most instances, they don't care where you drive the traffic to. They're very short-sighted. Right. They're like, yeah, we'll send you traffic. You can buy traffic, but it's up to you where you send it. So and when you say conversion, like I would love to go down this road with you because I think, God, I mean, the amount of landing pages, the amount of offers that you've probably had experience with is huge. So I know there's a lot we could glean from you there. But let's step over to media. Now let's start at the beginning because right now, let's talk about the average person. They start up their website, they head out to whether it's AdWords or they head out to Facebook or wherever. They spend a few $100, on they put together a banner or whatever, an ad, spend a few $100. They see pitiful results, and then they give up. Now, why do you succeed at paid advertising when, let's generously say, 98% of people fail at it? Let's go down this rabbit hole. What are you doing differently?
Okay, so there's 2 answers to that. The first one's the politically correct answer, and the other one's the non-politically correct answer. Let's start with the PC answer, right?
Okay, PC. Here we go.
Okay, so the PC answer is I have the experience to know what details I need to pay attention to and how I can use those details to be able to refine my media buy. So you said what you said, and you said it perfectly, was they'll start out and they'll fail miserably. I don't ever see a media buy as a failure. What I see it as is an education. I look at that and I say, okay, I spent $100. What did I learn from that $100? Well, before I could spend the $100, I had to make sure that I had all the pieces in place to be sure that I can learn something from that $100 spend, so that when it came time for me to spend $100 again, instead of spending it on the 10 keywords that I chose, I'm now going to spend it on the individualized keyword or the data pass-through of the person's demographic data, if I'm using Facebook or the interests or the age or any of those things, so that I can get some actual real insights. Am I conducting customer surveys? What data am I gleaning from that $100 spend that will make my next $100 spend not make back? Let's say you lost all of it. Instead of losing all of my money, all I would need to do is make one sale if it was a $100 product or a $10 product with a 10% back in conversion to an upsell offer or whatever it is. The key to succeeding in media buying is data driven. And I know based on my experiences what data points I should be looking at. That's the politically correct answer. The non-politically correct answer, most people are too damn lazy to take the time to spend a little bit of investment in trying to set it up right so they can track everything correctly. And that laziness is why they don't succeed.
Yeah. And, yeah, dude, that is so true. So true. Okay, so now I've been taking notes here as you've been talking, and let's talk about details, okay? So you said you know what details to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're setting up a campaign, what are the details that you're looking at?
All of them. Yeah, like literally, I use. But here's a good. So, if you like, there's an orchestra, right? And there's all of these people playing in the orchestra, and it sounds fantastic. If you take away one section of the orchestra, you lose the entire value of the orchestra. I mean, still, it'll sound okay, but it's not the same beautiful, rich sound that you had when you had all of the members playing in concert together, when everything was humming in harmony, right? Mm-hmm. The same applies to media. So what am I looking at? Most people ask me, what do you use for tracking? Are you using, this offer, or using, tracking 202, or what are you using for your media buys? My answer is I use Kissmetrics. Mm-hmm. Why do I use Kissmetrics? Because it will collect every single data point that is taking place at the consumer level, in addition to what's called properties and values for each event point. So I track, number one, what was my conversion ratio from page to page to page of the process? What was my conversion ratio of page to page to page of the process via each of my variables, based on their age, based on their gender, based off their mobile device, based off of their proprietary data, whatever proprietary data I'm passing through in one of my funnels right now. Are they married or not? What is their exact age? My conversion ratio by age, by exact age. I know that my 54-year-olds convert better than my 52-year-olds. Why? I have no idea. Am I hitting statistically significant data points, which means do I have enough of a data sampling to confirm that this is actually true? Yeah. It's just for some reason 54-year-olds convert better than 52-year-olds. Now don't go buy 54-year-olds. This is for me. This is for that page, and this is for that process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so did you have something? Oh, no, did you have something else there?
No, I was just going to say, so when you ask me what data points I track them all, and then I look at all of those data points and how they affect the overall page-to-page conversion and both short and long-term value per customer. Okay.
And so, I mean, that's the answer, all of them. Now, for the average person getting started out, what is all of them? What, like, give me some specifics here. From, if I was going to start a campaign on Facebook, driving traffic to a landing page for, I don't know, let's pick a new fitness product. And we were doing this in North America. We had some great offer, and we start buying traffic for it. What are the points that let me take a step back. I'm trying to break this. So where I'm going, Mike, is I'm trying to break this down so that somebody who it isn't at your level with media buying goes, okay, I get it. So step one, I'm going to do X, right?
Okay. So step one, you identify every single key touch point for you and the customer, right? Mm-hmm. So number one, where will the customer end up experiencing me, right? So most people think, it's the landing page. Well, no, there's more than the landing page. There's your landing page. There's your home page. There's potentially your about page. There's potentially your terms and conditions. Now, I'm going deeper to explain all those, but those, you don't need to track all of those. I'm letting you know that all of those matter to the customer and matter to you. So we track and measure specifically, if you're just getting started, at least the landing page and the home page, mm-hmm. and at least every other subsequent interior page of the process. Meaning, if you have a landing page that has an opt-in, how many people opted in, how many people made it to each of the interior pages, if there's a one-time offer after the opt-in, or what is that Ryan calls them? Tripwire.
Tripwires, yeah.
If there's a tripwire offer, how many people took the tripwire offer? we actually break things down into the events. We call those events. So let me just stick with KISS terminology for everybody, because I think it'll make it easier. Those are events that took place. Somebody did something. Mm-hmm. That event is they landed on the landing page. The next event is they landed on the page after the opt-in. And then I look at the conversion ratio of those two events by each property and value. What properties and values you record is completely up to what you're passing through from your media buy and what you're able to know about your customer. So if you're doing the Ryan Levesque style survey opt-in, you can end up passing into your analytics system, are they married or single? What is their age? What is their age range? What device are they on? My iPhone conversion, I'm looking at a dashboard right now. My iPhone conversion rate this week on this dashboard is 1.72% conversion rate. My Android is 0.42%. My iPad is 5%. My married conversion rate is 3.1%, and my divorce conversion ratio is 4.5%. So who am I going to go buy? I'm going to go buy divorced people on iPads.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, how much more money am I going to make next week than I did this week when I spent my $100? Now I go, okay, Facebook, target me married people on iPads. Now, instead of, if I did not know that, I might have ended up with the majority of Android traffic because I'm not buying with intelligence. They gave me all their leftover crap, which, frankly speaking, is the Android visitor. He's got the least value, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at every single. I mean, it's all in the details, right? So effectively, you're setting up a system. So I'm just trying to summarize this for everybody that's listening. You're setting up a system where you start off. If you're starting off fresh, you're gonna say, okay, here's who I think my customer is. Then you're going to be setting up an ad to reach those customers that's going to bring them to a landing page which is congruent with the reason they thought they were coming there. And then you're using KISS metrics to effectively track every move that they make on that page. But this is where you win. Most people are effectively tracking visitor came to page, and out of those visitors, here's how many took an action. They're not ever drilling down into that finite detail of who these people really are. And that's what's so cool today about, let's take Facebook, for example. I mean, now that you know that, divorced people on iPads are your buyer, your ability to go out and target divorced people on iPads is there. So that it's
sick, huh?
It really is, and that's what I'm trying to drive home to people today that are just getting into this, that are going out there and saying, hey, I want to target moms, and I put an ad up to moms, and I drove them to my page, and some of them opted in, but I don't really know why, and all the detail is there, and all the tools are there as well. Now, let's talk a little second. KISS metrics versus, say, Google Analytics. Night and day?
Yeah, here's my answer to that.
Yeah, I thought.
Right. I mean, Google Analytics does not allow for PII level data to be passed through. What that means is personally identifiable information. KISS metrics' entire core is based on PII. If you're only spending $100. Every single person counts, including your screw up or your family and everybody else that you sent there. As you're going through your data and going, oh, well, look, it looks like everybody in this demographic is converting because according to Google Insights, that's what's converting. Well, you forgot that 60% of your traffic was you and your friends looking at your page. Stop. You can't do that. You have to exclude all those people. So the only way you can do that is to look at things from a PII level basis and go, hey, you know what? I need to exclude everybody that had this value in what's called the query stream, because all of my testing traffic we sent using this value. So now I can be like, okay, I don't want to include that. I only want to include, this, which is everybody else.
Yeah.
And Google Analytics, while it does give you very pretty canned reports, success in media buying isn't about canned reports. It's about customization. And that's why I told you a moment ago, don't go buying divorced women on iPads, because that's what works for this funnel. It's not what works for every funnel.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Okay. So just to summarize where we've been going here and what we've been, first of all, one of the key things that I want to point out that you said, and this is a big lesson for everybody, is when you buy media and it doesn't convert, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. And that's so key, because again, people buy media and go, it didn't work, and they just throw their hands up and away they go. When they might be one tweak away from a break even or a profitable campaign. Then next thing to summarize here, definitely it's about tracking all of those details, and don't be lazy, which is, I love your non-politically correct answer, because that's it. People are freaking lazy, and they're not taking the time to truly understand what is going on when all that technology exists and is there. Now, here's a question for you. So you've had experience with tons of campaigns across tons of different industry. Now, there's an expectation, I think, for a lot of people starting off that they're going to buy media profitably. And what I mean by that is to put up an ad and see money go back into their pocket on the first sale. Now, in your experience, how many people are able? Are there a lot of people that are buying media today profitably off the within the first transaction, or is it more of a lifetime value?
Okay, so are there people doing it? Yes. So those of you who were looking for the flaw in the conversation, yes, there are people who do it, who can make it profitable at the beginning, and those are the people who will make claims and sell you products and where you should buy their shiny crap. So yes, it can be done, and a lot of people will do it just for the sake of selling other products. And there are those who can do it, and those are called direct marketing companies. And I should say but I should say but the majority of professional media buyers understand one thing. Customer acquisition cost is how much it costs you to acquire a customer, right? Mm-hmm. That customer, their value should be measured in LTV, not DTV, which is lifetime value, not daytime value, or what happened today. Mm-hmm. Our most successful clients understand that customer value will come in for a period equally for 4 months. You keep just generating crazy revenue from these customers for 4 months, prospects who turn into customers, that is. Mm-hmm. Don't try and circumvent the consumer research cycle. It's like suggesting that you could walk into a bar and walk out that night with a bride. That's asinine.
Yeah.
You can't do that. If you want to get married to someone and you want to forge a real relationship, it's going to take time. You can do things to circumvent that time frame a little bit, but it's still going to exist. So most people have what's called a long tail funnel, where they'll be able to go in and they have autoresponders set up. They have all these things set up for the future income that will come from that customer. And we know with all of our campaigns that it's still that same 4-month window, right? We'll keep getting value and value and value from every email. Even if that person doesn't buy from us, they'll end up buying something from someone that we introduce them to, who we feel benefits them and is a good consumer experience, so that it doesn't tarnish our relationship with that person, mm-hmm. but they'll still deliver value over and over time. So I would guess it's probably day zero companies versus LTV companies. It's probably 5 years ago it was probably 50-50. Now it's probably 90-10. 90% of good buyers buy knowing what their lifetime customer value is worth, and they're playing a longer term game. There's maybe 10% out there that are like actually making profit at day zero, and it's probably a lot less than that. That's just in my universe. I'm sure that the brand aid companies all know quite well. They've got the Disney play going. They're playing the 50-year game, not the 1-year game.
Yeah. And I agree with that. My experience in media buying outside of the IM world has always been even if you break even on that first transaction, you're high-fiving. But the money's to be made over the lifetime. And I think that's a real shift for a lot of people that are new to media buying to understand. And to be dead honest, a lot of the offers that I have seen that are converting profitably on the front end are not offers that would pass the scrutiny of maybe the FTC.
Yeah, exactly. Point. You sell your soul to the devil so you can convert and piss everyone else off in the process.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in so many cases, that's why, I've been so disenchanted with, the CPA world. In so much of what I've seen there and what goes on there is just, it's tough. Because
meaning the networks?
Pardon me?
Meaning the CPA networks?
Yeah, the CPA networks. And, I mean, in many cases, if you want to play in there, it's almost hard to play the legitimate game because you're competing against the guys buying the traffic who are doing it illegitimately. So it's an interesting it's an interesting place, that whole CPA world. And I mean, are you doing anything in the CPA space?
Hell no. Well, here's the thing. I literally created a course called CPA Tsunami so that people could get in and fill the CPA networks with good, ethical, promising offers. The problem is there wasn't enough of us. And a lot of people who bought the course were like, man, I could do that. And what if I just make this little tiny tweak to what Mike said, and then we can make twice as much money? And those kind of people, unfortunately, perpetuate the network world. So I don't recommend anyone go into the CPA world anymore.
Yeah, and I would tend to back you up on that, because what I've seen there has been just horrific, right? And so today let's talk about sources, places to buy media. I mean, we've got Facebook, and you've still got PPC. Where are you spending most of your time?
You don't need to go any further than 3 publishers: Facebook, Google, and Google, of course, Google Display Network being a subset of Google, and Bing. Those 3 sources, you're good. The only thing you have to be careful for, of course, is to make sure that you Barney Fife your offer, which means basically remember that the cops that are controlling all of the traffic, the policy departments, they're not going to take the time to do a full, thorough investigation. They're going to do a Barney Fife level investigation, which is, what? This doesn't work. Shut them down. No, arrest them. And that's pretty much the extent of it. So you have to make sure that your offer, the copy claims, images, everything is compliant to a T, and not compliant to what you think is compliant, but compliant to a complete idiot. Because that's the litmus that the policy departments have to run. Could someone potentially misconstrue your statement of chocolate tastes good as chocolate is the best thing on the planet, you should drink a gallon? Yeah. And I think anybody that's been in the internet marketing space for any length of time has gone down that road with AdWords, particularly with AdWords. I think it's a rite of passage. If you haven't lost an AdWords account sometime in your career, it's just, And so I told this, so those 3 networks. Now, that being said, there's lots of other networks out there that you didn't mention. You get the Site Scouts and but why? But I just want to throw it out there. Why? When you have the 3 most profitable networks available to you, why the hell would you go anywhere else? Right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know about all of them, and I know about programmatic media buying, and I know about everything, second level or second tier search engines, all this stuff. We have chosen to focus 100% of our effort and energy on making sure that the big 3 love us.
Yeah.
And that has dramatically changed. When I was spending over $1 million a month, I had teams of people. Now I have two people buy all my traffic, and we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month with 2 people.
Yeah.
Why fart around with all that other crap when you can get way better return, way better scale, way better data analysis, way better insights, but just focusing on 3.
Right. Okay. Now, I'm going to add one more level to that. And where does retargeting come into play?
Retargeting is an element of all. So we do retargeting through GDN and through Facebook. I don't do any Bing retargeting. Hell, I don't even know if it exists. But Bing is it's like the I don't know. I don't want to use a derogatory term, but it's like it's that kid playing playground. You're like, oh, are you still here? Okay, all right. But they just bring this incredibly valuable traffic at a fraction of the cost of the others.
Yeah,
especially in the financial spaces. Bing is great for financial traffic, but the others are going to bring you all your value. GDN and Facebook are going to bring you the real algorithm or computer programs that bring you the best customers. You can't get any better value for your dollar than those two if you're just starting out. Now, if you're a ninja and you obviously, hey, go crazy with mobile, go crazy with app mobile, go crazy with whatever you want. But from what I understand, most of your audience probably isn't necessarily already ninja. And if you're already ninja listening to this, I'm preaching to the choir anyway. But if you want value out of this conversation, just stick with the big three, but make sure your offer isn't going to get you banned.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so I'm going to take a little bit of a tangent here, and let's talk about mobile for a second. Okay. So
sure.
How are you treating mobile different than you're treating desktop or computer?
Well, they're not even remotely the same.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think, so I went back and forth, right? And by the way, I will flip-flop back and forth. That's my job. I'm a professional flip-flopper. It's called data analysis and moving with the data, right?
Yeah.
Years ago, data said, hey, you know what? You have to have a different page for each device because mobile has to be WAP and it needs to look like this and all that other crap. And you're like, okay, fine, we'll make a different mobile page. And then all of a sudden everyone went, oh, just make it responsive. And then all of a sudden it'll look great. And then, and I was like, okay, well, let's just be responsive. Now it's, okay, screw responsive. I want a specific page for this specific device type, and I'm going to make sure that this page is optimized correctly, and there's a split test run just to this device type so that I make sure my conversion rate across the whole looks good. So we have so I have a tablet page, I have a mobile phone page, and we, of course, have our desktop pages.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally, what I'd really like is one device, one page for each device. If my clients don't normally end up wanting to go through that extra effort, because I think that the sales letter, let me rephrase that. I know for a fact the sales letter you're going to write for an Android user is totally different than the sales letter you should be writing for an iPhone user. The psychology of those two users, based on mountains of data we have, completely different.
Oh, God, here's another rabbit hole to go down. How is an Android user that different than an iPhone user? I mean, I get I think the iPhone user typically is a little bit more affluent, but like, what have you seen?
Well, what have I seen? That's kind of an open-ended question. Here's the thing. How are they different? They're different in so many ways. If I want opt-ins, I'm going to target Android. They will give me their data all day long, and they won't hesitate to give me data. If I want them to buy stuff, I'm going to target iOS users, and specifically iPad, and then iPhone next, because they're going to out-convert every single time. However, the Android operating system, I'm going to get usually 30 to 50% less conversion to a paid customer on an Android than I will on an iPhone. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out an iPhone's going to cost you $200, an Android phone's free.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a correlation between the income level and purchase behavior patterns that exist for Android users versus iPhone users.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. God, I mean, yeah, the amount of, I'd love to just get in your head and get all that data out, but we don't have time on this interview. So, so
they'd probably like it too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of the things we discovered last week. We went through and did an analysis of a campaign, and we found that our Android users were far more likely to fill out 4 pages of data, 5 pages of data, 4 or 5 pages of data, including social security number, to like a factor that was like over 100% increase in conversion rate. And the iPhone users, nowhere near as close. So they were so much more valuable to us, an Android user, than an iPhone user, because I didn't care about a sale. What I wanted was crap loads of data.
Yeah.
And the Android users were elated to just dump all their personal information in.
Wow.
Including social.
Bizarre.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, so what's the speculation behind that? Like, why?
Are we talking marketing or politically correct terminology? Marketing speaking wise, they have less money, so they're more likely to, and that's a general term. Yes, I know you probably know someone who is rich as shit who has an Android device.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know that there are lots of technically capable people like myself who own Androids and root them and do all of the fun stuff. But we are marketers, so we have to look in terms of generalities. Generally speaking, the majority of iPhone users who have come through our processes have more purchase behavior on their phone and credit card behavior on their phone than their Android counterparts, and more often the Android counterpart is more willing to give personally identifiable information and is less fear-based than the Android user, but they don't have the discretionary income necessarily that an Android user might, or excuse me, an iPhone user might.
Right. Okay. Wow. Guys, I hope everybody who's listening is taking notes, because I mean, this information that Mike's sharing is stuff that comes with a lot of media buying and a lot of data analysis, and you get to skip that and leverage what you're hearing here. So now, Mike, we're running out of time. So, and that's unfortunate, because honestly, I could talk to you all day, because this stuff fascinates me. I love the data side of things. And I think if somebody's going to be successful in media buying, even if you're not a data person, you either need to find a data person to work with, or you need to become a data person. And I mean, what I love today is, you know, compared to a decade ago, the tools we have available to us, the info we have available to us to know who people are, to know who's doing what. I mean, it's night and day to what it used to be. I mean, if you had to compare media buying today versus, let's say, a decade ago, what would you say are the biggest changes you've seen?
The level of insights, as you just described, and the ability for us to hyper target specific individuals is insane. People who say, I tried media buying and it didn't work, are people who aren't really willing to invest the time into their own education to figure out how to make things work, or they haven't found someone to teach them how to make things work because they're so busy looking at the gurus who are trying to sell them the next thing they should buy, instead of scouring Twitter and looking at people who actually eat, breathe, and shit this stuff. That's who they should be talking to, not the people who want to sell them some crap next. And get their data from other more valuable sources. Dude, the screen I'm looking at right now, I can see that I sent this specific page this month has had 100 and crap, where'd the number go? Oh, here we go. 102 plus 20, 122,000 clicks this month. That's a lot of clicks, man.
Yeah.
And the amount of the way we can distill that data down, like I can now look at it and go, okay, there were 11,000 homepage views on this website, not counting the 120,000 clicks I just was talking about. That's an incredible amount of homepage views. And now I can look at my homepage conversion ratio and say, you know what? People who viewed the homepage converted any person who looked at the homepage of this website turned into $1 at a rate of 1.97%. So 1.9% of people who visited the homepage of this specific website I'm looking at right now ended up giving the company money. So now we can actually measure, did your homepage do a fantastic job of delivering trust and credibility? The insight and analytics alone, but then the ability to take those insights and analytics and turn them into an actionable media plan has never been like this ever.
Yeah. And my message to everybody that's listening is, you need to, if you want to start buying media, you need to know this. You know, if you're one of those few lucky people that are in a niche where there's relatively little competition and you can be lazy and make money, well, a high five, congratulations. But in any market where there's competition, the person that is doing what Mike is talking about here is going to win. You're not going to beat them. And, you know, the moral of the story is the person that does this and has the ability to as well create the most value out of their customers over their lifetime can spend the most on media. And when you apply that to what Mike's doing here and the ability to outspend your competitors, you can't lose. So that's it. And, you know, I go back to, you know, whenever I do events and stuff, Mike, you know, everybody always wants to hear about how do I rank in Google? How do I get the free traffic? How do I get this stuff? And yeah, and like I say to people, look, I don't dislike free traffic. Like if I can get a good ranking in Google, high five, right? I'll take that free traffic all day long, and I'm not going to not try and get it. But, you know, I compare it to, the real estate market. You know, one of the businesses one of my businesses here, I'm actually in a real estate property investing niche. And so when I'm speaking to property investors, I compare it like this. So free traffic sort of like capital or generic growth in real estate, right? Like if the market goes up, you know, we high five. That's fantastic. I love it. But at the end of the day, if you go into real estate and your only goal and plan is to make money by the market going up, well, that's not a reliable, consistent driver, and you can lose your shirt, right? If you want to make money on the internet, you need the skill you're talking about, the ability to go out and buy traffic consistently, reliably, and convert it profitably, and then to be able to scale that up, which in the real estate world, that's like, you know, being able to manufacture growth. So buying a house, renovating it, applying skills, flipping it, and making money. And so, you know, dude, that's why I think this interview is so valuable, and I hope people are really listening and taking this to heart and not running out there and buying the latest, you know,
shiny product.
Shiny product, because I mean that's not what it's about. It's about learning
data. Data drives sales.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
Here's one last thing I'll leave with you and your listeners. A lot of people tell me, you know, people inside of my community, and I get messages, Mike, I think that's great, but how am I going to compete against someone who can cash flow 3 months or 4 months, right? Mm-hmm. I can't get to that point. And I tell them, you know, dude, wake up, okay? First of all, you can. What would a bank need to give you what's called finance your receivables, or to give you a loan? Well, they'll need data. They'll need a business plan. Well, guess what? As you collect this data and you come back to someone, you can compete against anyone by saying, look, here are my numbers for the last 3.5 months. I've spent $1,000 on paid advertising. I've made back $10,000. I'm looking for a $50,000 loan. Here is all of my data. I'm presenting it to you now. Here's my paid media campaign. Here's a current cost. I need a $30,000 loan. I need an SBA loan, Small Business Administration loan. Can you please help me to secure this SBA loan with my proven profitability? You have a pretty high likelihood that you're going to have a better chance of getting that loan than if you just walked in off the street and said, I'm getting my butt kicked by Walmart. You have to be able to present a plan. Data gives you that plan. Data gives you that ability to go get the money that you need to be able to compete in a very fierce world of data-driven, and you probably heard the term before, data-driven analytics or data-driven businesses. You have to know the data. And then once you have it, you can make the appropriate plan, and you can compete. But you can't compete if you want to pretend to be paralyzed or if you want to not take action. So you have to take the action.
Yeah. And yeah. What you said. So, I got nothing to add to that. So you know what, dude, now is the time to wrap this up. Mike, thank you for sharing so generously and candidly with no ulterior motive. And that's what I appreciate about you. So again, Mike, thank you so much for taking part in the show here today.
Absolutely, buddy. Thanks for having me, and I hope this has been helpful for you guys.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. That was Mike Gehl. And Mike, before we go, I forgot to ask, where can people get more information about you? This is your time.
We came on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we before we came on. I don't sell anything, and I give everything away. But I've been yelled at like for years because I don't actually have a place for people to opt in for information or news or anything like that. But my guy Graham has been telling me, dude, you got to set something up. So he just set up a place where you guys can opt in for my inner circle emails where I'll just share all kinds of crap like this with you guys. And that's at Hill. That's my name, Mike Hill. MikeHill.me. Just go to MikeHill.me and you'll find either an opt-in page there or some other crap, and then an opt-in link where you can put your email address in. And we don't spam, we don't sell your crap. I mean, we're pretty straightforward. If you want to play and you want to come and learn, we're going to be here to help. If you want excuses, go somewhere else. If you want data, we're here to help.
Fantastic. And your group, the Internet Marketing Super Friends, you said that has a wait list of about 10,000 people, correct?
Yeah, that's a whole other story. I have tried, dude. I have tried to say, go here and I'll find a special way to let you in. Dude, it never happens. Yeah. Here's the thing: go find the website, go find the group on Facebook, apply, and then and sorry, keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
God willing, you won't get buried in the flood of requests, and somebody will let you in. If it's meant to be, you'll end up in. If it's not meant to be, hey. There it is.
Yeah, and guys, I would just do it. Go join on the wait list for Internet Marketing Super Friends. It's a fantastic group of.
It's free too, by the way.
Well, yeah, it's free, and online entrepreneurs are actually helping each other, which is really it's not just one big pitch after another pitch. So yeah, it's definitely worth getting on that wait list, even if you're number 10,001. I'm sure Mike's going to do something with that one day. We'll keep asking him.
I'm going to hire somebody to go through them. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you got to get on that. All right, and then MikeHill.me. I'll include that link in the show notes. And guys, I hope you've taken a lot away from this podcast. I know I have. I've got Post-it notes all over my desk here with notes and stuff on them. And I can't emphasize the value of what you've learned here today, and not only the value, but the mindset of how you approach media